Hello, and thank you for attending this presentation. My name is Sorin Mustaca, and I'll talk today about 1 year later challenges for young anti-malware products today. A few words about me. I started to work in security at RAV Antivirus more than 20 years ago. I worked at Avira for about 11 years in various roles and at Honeywell in IoT security. In 2015, I founded my own company called Endpoint Cybersecurity. We are focused on 3 areas. Consulting, we help companies build better anti-malware products and integrate security technologies in their existing products. We create OEM endpoint security products. We have cybersecurity services for classical infrastructures and automotive. Please visit our website for additional services and additional details about these services. Why a 1 year later presentation? At the VB conference last year, I presented challenges for young anti-malware products today. This was the difficult journey young and unexperienced companies have when building and releasing their first anti-malware product. The experience in this presentation comes from 10 anti-malware products I analyzed. 5 of my customers who are building anti-malware products, this is the data that I will present in the good part, and 5 different anti-malware products I've never heard or seen before. Actually, I found them advertised on various portals, and there were so many that I had to filter them on Apple Steam's website to see that if they are deceptors or not, and some of them they were. Last year, I concluded with some notes. These were: anti-malware is becoming a commodity. Everybody expects it to be there, but nobody wants to pay for it. There are many vendors, established and new, and plenty of free anti-malware products. Of course, we know that there is no such thing as free, right? It is not enough to have good software developers and a good engine in order to create an anti-malware product. You need special know-how, time, and money to build good anti-malware products. Think long-term and not short-term. If you use tricks to make quick money, then you will use this money and even more to clean up your reputation later. Last but not least, we talked about Windows Defender and Microsoft's requirements in competing in the anti-malware space. We'll talk about this also today. The agenda. We'll analyze briefly the current situation in the anti-malware market. We will see the status of the established vendors, of the young vendors, and we'll make a comparison. We'll talk also about the status from the offering perspective, certification and compliance for the new antiviruses. Last but not least, we'll talk about Microsoft Defender, and also we'll draw some conclusions. So the current situation on the anti-malware market for established vendors is they have a lot of users, they are known on the market, they own the market just because they have a long history. But the market is saturated, so they need ways to differentiate themselves. We see that many vendors are adding new technology into their portfolio, things like VPNs, password managers, file reputations, web filters, and many others. The list is really long. So they mix these features into various packages, also known as suites, but also they offer them sometimes in standalone packages. Is this a good approach? I don't know. I'll let you decide. But please keep in mind, competition is very high, so the prices need to be low. It is really hard to differentiate between these products. I mean, it's not easy to say my VPN is better than yours, or my system cleanup is better than yours. It's really hard. Let's not forget also that any extra added here adds also an extra load on the system. So don't forget that there are big suites out there, total security, complete security, and so on, that have features that pretty much nobody uses. Now, for the new vendors, the situation looks quite differently. Very few of them are known on the international markets because some have big marketing budgets, and the rest of them are either known locally in their own market or are not known at all. They are just trying to identify niche markets. They try to determine and experiment which features are right for their product and for their audience. They are trying now to also enhance their anti-malware offering using the same extras that the established vendors have. But in the entry level, they have only the core functionalities, things like real-time scanner, on-demand scanner, updater, and so on. So competition at this entry level is really, really hard, and the prices need to be really low. And it's really almost impossible to compare them at the feature level. Now let's compare a bit the situation for the established vendors versus new vendors. The established vendors have a lot of users due to their history. The new vendors either don't have users, or if they come from another industry like driver updater, system optimizer, they might have an existing user base and they try to upsell anti-malware technologies to them. The situation with the packages is the established vendors have already a lot of extra products and they try to bundle them together. So they have many packages. The new vendors usually don't have any kind of packages, and sometimes they try to upsell in their web shops some other technologies. Sometimes theirs, if they come from another industry, sometimes third-party products. Certifications. Well, of course, the established vendors have the know-how and the technology to go after several certifications. On the other side, new vendors usually don't have the capability or the money to go after several certifications, and they remain with a basic certification, the one required to enter MVI. We'll talk about that a bit later. Now the performance. Well, this is very complicated because, in my opinion, I think that the established vendors have to pay a price on the performance by adding the extra features. The new vendors, not having those features, usually are actually faster, or they consume less resources than the established vendors. On the detection side, well, the detection for the established vendors is usually very good, and they also add a lot of extra detection technologies on top. The new vendors license the detection technologies from the established vendors, but usually they lack these extras, which adds them the plus in detection. But still, because using the established vendors detection, they also have a very good detection. Now, the prices. Of course, the established vendors have a long history, they have a reputation, and they have a lot of extras. And the prices are higher than for the new vendors, which usually sell only the core detection. Now, the target customers, for both of them, are always B2C, because it's just easier to sell to consumers than to businesses. But a trend that I observed several years ago is that also the new vendors are trying to enter the business space. This will be an interesting fight because that space is occupied since many, many years by the established vendors. What about the free products? Well, most of the established vendors who own their own detection technologies have some free version. If not, then they have a generous trial, like 30 days or even more. The new vendors usually don't have a free version for several reasons. One, sometimes they are not allowed by their engine vendor to have a free version, because it would be additional competition for free. Second, well, they would have to pay for the license, even if they give the product for free. So it's not really worth doing it. Now, let's have a look from the perspective of good versus bad things in the young anti-malware products. Now, the bad part is some of these new anti-malware products are trying to do some curious things in order to become better known. They try to maintain some antivirus guides under different shadow companies where their product is basically on top 3, usually actually the winner of the competition there. But of course, this is in the detriment of the existing anti-malware products, which are usually much better actually. So this we see that they are fake. They sometimes work with shady affiliates that will do anything to get a click, an installation, a download, or purchases. It all depends on the pricing model. They pay sometimes questionable printed and online magazines to have some unbelievable good reviews. They also start sometimes with a very small price in the first year just to create a user base, and then they enhance the price up to 10 times from the second year. There is also a huge fight in the advertising space. For example, keywords like antivirus, free, and various malware names are really expensive these days. So this is a big business for Google. According to Eposteme, data taken at the end of August, there are over 400 deceptors active, over 200 resolved, but I have to say, most these deceptors are not actually anti-malware products. Some of them have some anti-malware capabilities, but they are not really dedicated anti-malware products. Unfortunately, it's not possible to filter after the product type. So if there is somebody from Eposteme in the room, this is a feature request for you guys. Now, the words free antivirus are now synonym with free download, free installation, free scan, some operation done by the antivirus, but the product actually at the end is not free. So the concept of free antivirus has become really blurry for this guy. Now let's see the status of the good part. Fortunately, the vast majority of the new anti-malware products are really good and performant. They have clear messages toward the user about what is free and what is not free. They do what they promise. They are not deceptors. They are not promoting dumping prices for the first year to increase them the second year. But to be and stay clean is really not easy for these guys. So many find out the hard way that this behavior tries to be regulated. So they do something to find out later that it was forbidden by somebody and they get flagged by the whole industry. It costs a lot more to do things right than to add some quick and dirty tricks to get more money easily. But in the end, in my opinion, it pays to be clean and to stay clean over a longer period of time, because we can see on the market that new products appear all the time, and this is really awesome. On the consumer antivirus providers for Windows, a page maintained by Microsoft, we see really regularly new products, and I'm proud to say that some of these products are built together with my company. Let's look at the certifications. Last year, I explained that the new anti-malware companies have to enter the Microsoft Virus Initiative group in order to be able to integrate with Windows Security Center. So they use a private API from Microsoft to do that. To become a member of MVI, it is required to have a third-party anti-malware certification for the detection capabilities. And since August 2020, you need to pass a review by the Windows Defender team. After they get admitted in MVI, well, the journey just starts, because they need to become level 1 certified and they need to be retested at least quarterly. So they need to pass the performance test. That means they need to be comparable in speed with Defender. And also they need to test their functionality against new unreleased versions of Windows. For this, the customers are required to join the Update Staging Lab, USL, or the Security Update Validation Program, SUVP. Now, the certification part related to detection, well, this is very interesting, because many young companies think that if they have good developers and a good engine, well, that's all it takes to pass all kinds of tests. And unfortunately, they have a very bad surprise after they see that they fail these tests in various areas like on-demand, real-time. They have various bugs in their products. They do not detect malware specific for a platform. They whitelist certain code signing certificates when the malware is signed with them. And sometimes I've seen that they even misconfigure their own features, which prevent in the end their own product to detect malware. Now, the compliance part is twofold. One is the internal compliance, which means respect the legal requirements of your engine vendor, add licenses and disclaimers for all used open source licenses, add your own EULA and privacy agreement, and of course there is also third-party requirements. We have Microsoft engineering requirements, we have the MVI requirements, we have Eposteme with guidelines for not getting flagged as deceptor. Of course, we have also all other vendors' requirements for PUAs, for Trojans, for adware, and so on. Last but not least, we have also the various cleanup groups that come also with very good requirements to be clean. Let's draw some conclusions now. developing anti-malware software is really hard. It requires experience in various areas like software development, DevOps, compliance, marketing, sales, and last but not least, of course, security. You need to have a security product secure by default, by design, and by deployment. Certifying anti-malware software requires also special skills and knowledge, and also it is very expensive and time-consuming. So unfortunately, having a good, certified, and clean anti-malware product does not guarantee success on the market. Many anti-malware companies have the bad surprise that there is at the end a checklist which gets your antivirus compared with established antivirus vendors. And of course, the new vendors lose here because they don't have all the features that the established vendors have. Now, to my surprise, very few customers are interested in non-functional features like speed, reduced resources consumption, good detection. Everybody expects this as they were the most normal thing in the world. But of course, we know that this is not the case. Of course, we cannot end this presentation without some thoughts about Defender. So we've seen that Microsoft enforces all anti-malware products to be at least as good as Defender in areas like detection and performance. But in the last tests, Defender was even much better than most antivirus products out there. They received AV Test Top Product and AV Comparative Advanced++, and I've seen there is even one with 3 pluses. So good and free. But then, does it make sense to still compete with it? Well, let's see. Here are my thoughts about companies that will continue to bring anti-malware products on the market. Defender has perception problems. People don't want to protect the operating system with anti-malware products coming from the same vendor. Still, unfortunately, many think that, oh, they write the viruses and they also sell us the antivirus afterwards. Of course, we know that this is not true, but still. Now, the performance of Defender hasn't been so good in the past, but now that it is so good, probably it will change the perception from the above point. The extras included in some of the anti-malware products are making a difference. The extras included in the paid anti-malware bundles, they lower the price of the individual packages and people really feel like inclined to buy these bundles. I think it's just perception, not a fact, but okay. Now, try before you buy. Many customers go on the consumer market and try it, and then they take that antivirus that was tested in the consumer area for their businesses. A good approach. Usually, customers get better support from the independent software vendors than from Microsoft. Of course, they are smaller and they can react much faster. Data sharing is also simpler, at least this is how they see it, with smaller independent software vendors. The buy local concept is real and it works. Many people will not buy an antivirus overseas, known internationally, but will prefer to take an antivirus made in their country, for example. Users are easier attracted to try anti-malware products and even to buy them if they receive the hint about that product when they are in need. So for example, if they search for a ransomware, then they will download the product that says, oh, I can detect that ransomware for you and I can block it. So what do you think? Is it worth in the end? In my opinion, it is definitely worth, and I thank you for following this presentation until the end. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.